Matt Fackrell from the Omnific. Welcome to Australian Musician.
Oh, thank you for having me.
You guys have just released a new album, The Law of Augmenting Returns. The opening track, the Omnific equals bass. Do you feel that you need to spell out that you're a bass-centric band, or are you just having a bit of lighthearted fun?
Yeah, so it's actually it's an approximately equals to sign, which is like just a, a slight little difference to equals to. So it's just a joke. Like the omnific is approximately equal to bass, so it's like I don't know, just humorous in that sense. Just being like we try and do bass, but sometimes it doesn't turn out like that. Yeah, just a humorous intro.
At what point did you decide that you'd be a dual bass band, that the dual bass was going to be the main focus?
Oh, it just was like just a happy circumstance, to be honest. Like about 8 or 9 years ago when I first met Toby, we were just like, hey, let's just have a little jam, two bassists. And it was just good fun. And then like fast forward to now, we've just been making music with it. So yeah, we found it was just something that worked in the way that we liked to create music, and then it just kept going. Yeah, so no actual definitive like this is what we're doing. It just fell into place.
Yeah. And how did Jerome come into the picture? Why was he the right drummer for this band?
Oh, like so he's someone I'd actually played with for about a year, I think, prior to the Omnific, and I just knew the way he approached thinking about not necessarily just playing drums, but actually composing drums was like kind of an outside the box approach, which is definitely what's required for this type of music. Obviously, you got to compete with two of us. So yeah, he was kind of like that was the only drummer we really approached, and we were just sort of like, yeah, this is the one. And yeah, we were still experimenting ourselves, so it's kind of like they grew as we did as well.
Yeah. Did you have bass heroes when you're starting out, and who inspires you today?
Yeah, or definitely. I'd say we all do. I came from the metal, like classic rock and metal background. Like Dream Theater is probably my biggest influence when it comes to say bass guitar. You can probably see it in like the basses I play as well, on top of some of the compositional stuff I like to do. And then more so nowadays, I think I find a lot of inspiration just in music in a whole. Like it gets more compositional. Could be anywhere from like Polyphia in our genre, who we did actually tour with, to like the Hans Zimmer kind of music. Get trying to like really think about the big picture when you're composing, and yeah, that's sort of where I like to think I get inspiration for composing music. Speaking for the other band members, we all came from a metal background, which I think is where we always just enjoy technical types of riffs and songs and structures and all that. And then we tried to like just piece that into two basses, and then what the drums can do around that, I think, comes from that type of background.
Uh, how did you arrive at the album title, The Law of Augmenting Returns?
Yeah, I think for me, I just sort of was thinking about like the diminishing returns concept, and was like, hey, what would the opposite of that be? Um, like you work on something, and the more you work on it, like the better you feel like your results are getting with that. And I guess it's not really like actually possible, but it felt like with this band, like we felt like this record was like the next step for us personally. So the title was there like almost from the get-go, creating the record. um, and yeah, like it just stuck the whole way through.
Yeah. Is it a difficult thing to name instrumental pieces?
It can be as easy as anything or as hard as anything. Yeah, like without lyrics, you can really go down a rabbit hole of does this fit the song? And you could always argue that any name fits any song because there's no lyrics to justify anything. But yeah, some of the track names, like I really wanted to go down more of a like a light-hearted approach, like something that like you'll just there's no real deep meaning to a lot of the track names, but they also do fit with the style of song. Like for example, Butterfingers, that name came. I thought that was an appropriate name because like it's how your fingers feel after playing the song.
Yeah.
Um, literally just like a literal meaning to like a technical piece. You're like, all right, feeling like I've got like butterfingers after playing that. So yeah, that was how that one came about. Um, yeah, like base camp was just a play on words with the name base, and then it felt like you've kind of like come home and you're like back in your home base kind of thing. So yeah, it was just that was just a little bit more, I guess, more like a pun on base than anything.
And fat mackerel?
Yeah, that's just my name. My name flipped. That's a name I've been called like all through my childhood life because it's so obvious. Like, because my last name's actually Fackrell, not Fack, how it's written here.
Oh, okay.
Um, and yeah, so if you just flip the first two letters, you get Fat Mackerel like literally straight away. Um, and I was just like, that's such an interesting title for a song because you can then relate it to like a fish. Then we made the video game out of it. So yeah, that was probably one of the easiest to name, obviously, because it already existed.
Yeah. You have a few guest spots on the album. Tell me about the musicians that played on the album.
Yes, yes. So I'll start with the bass guitarists we had. So they feature on track two, which is the title track, Law of Augmenting Returns. And so the first one on that track is Charles Bertu, the YouTube sensation. I'm sure a lot of people would have heard of him already as well. He's phenomenal. And we felt in that moment in the song, we needed something that like was just a different thought process to how we would approach, say, writing a solo for that part. And very quickly he was like, well, he's a name we've all known for ages, and it was like, this feels like a very fitting part for what he does on the bass guitar. Unfortunately, like we sort of like messaged him, it was like, yeah, I'm keen to do it, and I was like, that's amazing. And so yeah, he ripped his solo on it, and it was sick. And then moving to the second bassist on that track, Kai Den Hertog, he's lives in Canberra and actually filled in for Toby on a tour when he was had stepped away from the band for like just a brief moment, and it felt like he helped us out, and we were like, we'll return the favor, and also we like just wanted someone else's input on this certain section. He took it around with it to like a high, I think, beyond our like, I guess, creative ideas would have taken it to. So yeah, that was awesome to have him on the track as well. So yeah, when we did the video, there's like so many bassists just crammed into the one video. But yeah, that was so much fun. But yeah, then we also have a few vocalists as feature artists. So they're all on track one, which is the Omnific is approximately equal to bass, like we mentioned before. So the very intro of the album is like the barbershop singing, and that was not really set in stone as an idea from the get-go, but it more just trended towards, we had the part written, but we didn't know what instrument was going to play. It could have been bass guitar, but it felt like we wanted to start something different to what we've done in the past. So yeah, we were like, let's try a vocal intro, and we found Tim Warwick online, who's again, he's a quite well-known YouTuber on top of doing a lot of other stuff. I guess in the choral kind of side of music, and yeah, he just was like, yeah, again, I'm very happy to do this just straight away. Like no issues or anything, just recorded the part and it was perfect. And yeah, that was sick. And then the second feature artist is Luke Taylor from Heartline, who we've toured with a couple of years ago. And very similar lyrics to the intro. It was kind of just like just trying to do, I guess, like reprise that intro but in a different way. And yeah, he just was again keen to do that. So first time we've had vocals on the Omnific like properly, and it ended up having two vocalists on one song.
Yeah. And Rowan?
Yeah, so Rowan, he actually, so he did that solo on that last track, which was so much fun. Like we could have done it on bass, but it was like, nah, let's go to a completely different instrument, and he just like ripped a solo, and that was awesome. And we actually got him to program like a bit of like just extra stuff around the album as well. So he's got a lot of input aside from just that solo. But speaking only on the solo, to me, it feels just like an epic ending to like the album. And yeah, like with the sound of the keys, you can't really replicate that on a bass. So it felt like a very fitting ending in a non-bass guitar way, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So what do you know about recording now that you didn't the first time you went in and recorded your first EP?
Oh, so yeah, a lot of trial and error back then, be that like what works, what doesn't work. So something that I would say is the biggest difference now between the EPs is back when we did the EPs, we literally approached it like bass one, bass two. So two basses, that's it. And we'd record the parts and we'd do layering and whatnot if we needed to. But we really approached it like the concept of the band. Whereas when we kind of have gone through the trial and error stages and figured out what we think sounds the most appropriate, we now treat it more like guitars and basses would be recorded. So we have like that center bass track, like that just holds down what your traditional bass guitar would do. And then we have like the left and right panned like a guitar would be recorded in like metal music. And that really enforces like it doesn't drag your ear to either side of the speaker because you do have that low end in the center as well. So yeah, that really helped make the music sound like fuller and not like you don't always lean to one side. If something's playing something heavier, your ear would always get pulled to that on the EPs. But we've like found methods to make it not do that. Yeah, so I'd say that that's the biggest change we've done over the years to make it sound like, or to make it properly work, which like if you just think about bass guitar only, it's like, well, how's that going to work? But yeah, treating almost like the two wide basses like how you treat a guitar is the approach we've kind of taken, and then it's worked from there.
Yeah. Tell me about the basses that you're now using.
Yeah, so the main basses we use are like the Dingwall. We're both currently using 5 strings actually. We did use a 6 on the record too, but predominantly we play the NG3s 5 strings, both of us. And we also use Museum M bongos as well. Again, we both play 5 strings. And they've been like the basis of our sound for quite a while actually. When it comes to recording, we've actually also added for this record, we used a bass 6, so like almost halfway towards a guitar, and that kind of filled in some of the chords we wanted to do and like some of the strumming parts, which you can't really achieve on a bass to that extent. So we use that on the record. We actually used a fretless 6-string Warwick thumb, I'm pretty sure it was, and that was really cool to use on the record as well. We used an Ibanez, I think it was the SR505 if I'm not mistaken. So one of Toby's first basses, and we used that for when we needed something just a little bit more like throaty sounding compared to like the attackiveness of the Dingwall. So yeah, that was cool to use as well. And then we also used a Madeira, it's like an SG ripoff or something, which has a really papery tone. So I wouldn't say it's a very good sound, but for some parts it was like really beneficial to how we wanted it to sound. So yeah, we also use that on the record. Yeah, that's kind of the array of basses that we used.
Yeah. You're touring Europe in August and announcing Australian dates very soon.
Yeah.
On the road, what will your stage rig consist of?
Yeah, so for the last 2 years, it's pretty much just been a quad Cortex each for Toby and I, and that's it. It does absolutely everything we need it to, like MIDI changing and all that. So yeah, for the bass guitar, that's it. Just bass straight into that out the front of house. Yeah, that's it.
Have you been rehearsing to play for those shows yet?
Um, we definitely will have been like personally. We're actually starting them in a couple of days' time to get real locked into some of the new songs. Yeah, because it can always be a daunting process, like actually having to figure out how to perform something that we've never done before. But it's always good fun as well doing that.
Yeah. So how will you reproduce like Rowan Sharma's parts?
Or I hate to say it, but like we probably just have to put it in backing tracks until he could actually like physically be there to play the solo. We'd love to like one of us be able to play it on bass, but I think the speed of it is far too quick, and they've got a bigger range of octave than um, the bass can achieve. So yeah, we'll probably just have to go to the MacBook to do that for us. But yeah, like the goal is in the future if we could like bring him along on a tour or for a show, yeah, he'd just rip the solo, and that'd be so much fun.
Yeah. Without mainstream media attention, you've been able to acquire nearly 50,000 Facebook followers. You're in a position where you can tour Europe. How have you been able to grow your audience?
Oh, it's always an interesting question to think about. I think I think, well, it comes from like we actually did kind of release a fair bit of music when we started out, which was kind of our intention. We always wanted to just put out a few EPs, and then as the albums came out, I think trying to create like interesting enough music on bass guitar and incorporating that with like doing a lot of videos that showcase what we do, and then selling like the tab books as well, so people can also learn what we do, I think has helped build a community of like bassists around it. And then the other side, I think, when it comes to like the touring, is like this will be our fourth time in Europe now, and like as we go there more often, like people then start noticing you, who will see you at a show they've never heard of you before, and then you can build your fan base up there. So I think it's like a hand in hand kind of thing, where like the more touring we're able to do, especially overseas, then I'm hoping that can then like build up the band's profile so we can then keep doing it over the next few years.
Yeah. First time I saw you guys was at a stand at the Melbourne Guitar Show. Uh,
Okay, ages ago,
yeah,
ages ago.
where
Yeah,
people were walking past, and then they do a double take and come back, and and
yeah, cool.
hearing what they were hearing, and then they view you, and there's no guitars involved, it's just basses. And by the end of the session, you had quite a large crowd. What are your memories of the guitar shows?
Oh, so they were good fun. So we did the guitar show, like we did for some booths like a few years. But yeah, on that main stage, I think we did that once, and that was like a cool experience to play to, well, people who are really interested in like guitar and bass. Like they're, well, obviously musicians go to those types of conventions. So yeah, very awesome to be able to play there. I just remember like that was so long ago, where we were still figuring out what we wanted to do as well. Like when it came to performance, or like how we wanted to have the thing sound, or even when it came to like recording and then taking that recording setting to the live setting. Yeah, so I just remembered like if we could perform that same gig now, I think it would feel a lot like more accurate to who we are now. But yeah, you always got to go through those growing pains as well as you like develop your band, especially when you're trying to do something that no one's done before. But yeah, I think, yeah, like there was a lot of like incredible support then, and it felt like we'd kind of found our niche. Like we knew this was the band that we wanted to grow, and it was just like we just had to like grow into those shoes.
Yeah. You spoke about a little bit before on your social media. You present videos on how you play certain songs or parts. You publish tab books. Why is it important to share the mechanics of what you do?
Oh, I think in how we like to compose our riffs, and the people who like to listen to that type of music are always, well, for the majority of the time, they are actually musicians themselves. So it's like to be able to maybe inspire like that next generation of bassists on how like what we do, and then they can then take it in the future and turn it into something extra that they do. That's kind of like one part of it. It feels like there's people always wanting to learn how you approach things. So yeah, that's probably the main reason, because people are interested in learning the riffs that you write, which is quite humbling to think about. But yeah, also it's like just part of the merch catalog as well. So you got to think about it from that point as well. Um, but yeah, I just think, yeah, like a lot of people who like the music we do in the same genre, from like Polyphia Animals as leaders, intervals, etc., Pliny. People just like to learn what you do, because then they'll learn from it and do something themselves. Which like I definitely did when I was like 14, 15. I'd try and learn as much as I could from other artists, and I guess being able to like return the favor to the next generation is something pretty cool to do.
Yeah. You mentioned a few other bands. Then, what would be your dream collaboration?
Oh, there's so many cool ones. When you mean collab, you mean like a tour or like on a record?
Either.
Either like I'd love to do like a United States tour with Polyphia, because we actually did Australia with, and it's just too short and sweet here in Australia. But that's just the nature of like this country. Yeah, an American tour with Polyphia would be unreal, and I think an Australian tour with Pliny would be sick, because we haven't done that, and he's obviously Australian, we're Australian, so I think it would just be good vibes doing that.
Yeah.
And I guess when it came to a record, I really want to get like Victor Wooten or like John Myung just to do a guest solo one day. But yeah, we'll maybe next record we'll try push for that.
Yeah. Did you see the Wooten brothers last year?
No, I regret that. I should have. But
Yeah, I think they'll be back soon.
yeah, well, I'll definitely keep my eyes out for that for sure.
So what's the grand plan for the Omnific?
Grand plan. I guess we just want to keep doing what we do. That's like the overall picture. When it comes to, I guess, in the near future, like hopefully touring more of this record, maybe doing a few more music videos along the next year or so. Maybe hopefully go back to the United States on this record, be that this year or next year or even the year after, whatever that is. That would be a really cool step for this record, and then looking like 2-3 years into the future, hopefully then maybe having another record out and doing more of our headline tours overseas. That would be a cool goal to work towards. But yeah, like just obviously we just want to keep enjoying what we're doing, and whatever opportunities we get, we always enjoy them as well.
Yeah. Well, Matt, it's been great to chat, and all the best with the album and the tour.
Yeah, appreciate that, Greg. Thank you.